I'd like to call the November 13th meeting of the Board of Education to order. First item, the invocation. Ms. Etheridge.
Good evening. I'd like to read an excerpt from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff book. Story number 66, Think of What You Have Instead of What You Want. With Thanksgiving right around the corner, I thought this would be appropriate. In over a dozen years as a stress consultant, one of the most pervasive and destructive mental tendencies I've seen is that of focusing on what we want instead of what we have. It doesn't seem to make any difference how much we have, we just keep expanding our list of desires, which guarantees we will remain dissatisfied. The mindset that says, I'll be happy when this desire is fulfilled, is the same mindset that will repeat itself once that desire is met. A friend of ours closed on his new home on a Sunday. The very next time we saw him, he was talking about his next house that he was going to buy, and it was going to be even bigger. He isn't alone. Most of us do the very same thing. We want this or that. If we don't get what we want, we keep thinking about all that we don't have, and we remain dissatisfied. If we do get what we want, we simply recreate the same thinking in our new circumstances. So despite getting what we want, we still remain unhappy. Happiness can't be found when we are yearning for new desires. Luckily, there is a way to be happy. It involves changing the emphasis of our thinking from what we want to what we have. Rather than wishing your spouse were different, try thinking about their wonderful qualities. Instead of complaining about your salary, be grateful that you have a job. I'm not talking about teachers. I know everybody says that, be grateful that you have a job, but that's other than teachers. Rather than wishing you were able to take a vacation to Hawaii, think of how much fun you have had close to home. The list of possibilities is endless. Each time you notice yourself falling into the I wish life were different trap, back off and start over. Take a breath and remember all that you have to be grateful for. When you focus not on what you want, but on what you have, you end up getting more of what you want anyway. If you focus on the good qualities of your spouse, they will be more loving. If you are grateful for your job, rather than complaining about it, you'll do a better job or be more productive and probably end up getting a raise anyway. That's what I'm hoping for. If you focus on ways to enjoy yourself around home rather than waiting to enjoy yourself in Hawaii, you'll end up having more fun. If you ever do get to Hawaii, you'll be in the habit of enjoying yourself. And if by some chance you don't, you'll have a great life anyway. Make a note to yourself to start thinking more about what you have than what you want. If you do, your life will start appearing much better than before. For perhaps the first time in your life, you'll know what it means to feel satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Etheridge. Next, Don Belangia, our Principal of the Year from Central Elementary, will introduce the person who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'd like to introduce Miss Lucy Chappell. She's a third grader at Central.
Would you all please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lucy. Our school spotlight this month is on Central Elementary, and I'll turn it back over to Don Belangia.
Thank you. 3 years ago, or 3.5 years ago, Ms. Kensel and Mr. O'Brien came to me with a book called The Leader in Me. And the book focused on Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. We started implementing that in our school. We began by reading the book. We had someone come out and train us on the 7 habits and slowly started to implement. As the years have progressed, we've put a little bit more into it, and I wanted the kids to come today and share a little bit with you about what we're doing, how it's affecting them, and then I also wanted to share how it's affecting our staff, because what we found is it carries over, it's carrying over at home. I had a parent speak to me about it tonight, and I'll share that later. it's carrying over to the adults in our building as well as to the students. So I'm going to start by asking Lucy and Haley Dozier to come up, please.
I'm Lucy Chappell. I am class representative for our student government. I have to listen to Mrs. Melangia carefully so that I know what to tell my classmates, and I also have to listen to them so that I represent them well. I take their ideas back to the student government where we discuss them and help make decisions about our school. To do this well, I have to use Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood.
I am also a representative for the student government. I seek first to understand and then to be understood by listening to the students in my class so that I can take their ideas back to the group. If I don't listen to them, I would not be a good representative. So it is important that I listen first as a part of student government. I must also synergize with the other members of the team and think win-win so that everyone is satisfied with the outcome of the decision we make.
Okay. Girls, Haley, will you stay up? And Lucy? Okay. We talked about 3 habits there. You're going to do what? Seek first to understand?
Then to be understood.
Right. And what else did you talk about? When you work together, you're going to do what? Synergize. That's exactly right. And we want a positive outcome for everybody, so that's what?
Thinking win-win.
We're going to think win-win. So we're using all of those habits. We've just started our student government. The kids are coming in. We're talking about what's working well in the school, what they like, what they don't like. It's interesting. We took the 7 habits. We recreated our PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Intervention Support. We recreated that using the 7 habits. And so we've got things posted in the building, some guidelines for them to go by, what to expect, voice levels, different things. That was one of the things that the kids really liked the best, that they saw those kinds of things in the hall and were able to use them to monitor their behavior. So, nice job, girls. Okay. I'd also like to introduce now 2 of my 4th grade students. Come on up, girls.
Hello, my name is Darcy Rodriguez, and I am in Ms. Vesto's 4th grade class. Habit 7 is sharpening the saw. It is important to sharpen the saw each day. When you sharpen the saw, you are taking time to renew yourself in body, heart, mind, and soul. We sharpen the saw in Ms. Vesto's class every day by doing brain energizers that help us keep focused.
Hello, my name is Abigail Owens. In Ms. Resto's 4th grade class, sharpening the saw helps to keep us involved in what we are doing and not get too bored. We take brain breaks and do energizers throughout the day, and it gives us a chance to move, get the blood flowing, and wake up our brains. The energizers help us refocus and get back to work. It helps everyone pay attention and get more work done.
Girls, before you sit down, can you just tell them a little bit about what you do, what it means to do these brain energizers, how it helps you?
Because on Mondays we're all tired and we don't want to do anything. So the brain energizers gets us moving and gets our brain flowing so that we can learn our math and stuff.
And sometimes we do it before we have our snack, so we're not lazy the rest of the day.
Okay. All right. Very good, girls. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to call up Mr. Trayvon Hall.
Hello, my name is Tavon Hall. Hello, my name is Tavon Hall, and I have been beginning with an end in mind by setting goals. One of my goals that I set for myself for the first 9 weeks was to do my homework before playing of other things when I get home after school each day. This is an example of habit 3, put first things first. Another goal I set for myself is to listen to others. When I am working in a group, before I begin talking, this is habit 5. Seek first to understand, to then to be understood. Having these goals help me to stay focused on what is important.
All right, tell them a little bit about what you did with Miss Barnes and your goal setting, your book and everything.
She
Talk to the board.
She gave us papers, and she asked us what goals did we need to work on, what did we need to work on, and those are a couple of things I had put down that I need to work on because I know I need to work on them.
And how are you doing in them?
I've reached my goal.
Okay, very good. And Tavon has worked super hard. We're really proud of him. All right. Okay. There are many habits, and the kids are using them throughout the day. They're on our walls at school. The teachers are using them in the classrooms. We have finally, after 3 years, we've got the upper grades teachers saying, I'm seeing a difference. When they get to me, they already know the habits, and it's also, like I said, carried over with the teachers. I've got teachers who have never taken a leadership role before, stepping up and taking charge of different committees that we've got at school, or taking on projects for the entire school. We recently did a Veterans Day program and luncheon and museum, and different teachers throughout the building pulled together, teachers that I don't normally, that will admittedly say, I don't like to get up in front of people, but they are taking on this leadership role in a different way. They're finding other ways. I've got a teacher that's organized the Wildlife Club at Corolla. The Wildlife Foundation, they're coming and they're doing field trips on site for the entire building. So there's different teachers. We've got 2 teachers that are helping with the Wellhead Club's reading thing. They've just taken it far beyond what we expected it to be. So we're seeing it across the board with our teachers as well. And Ms. Dozier came in this evening and was telling me that she's seen it with Haley, and now she's using it with her staff at work, and it's going really well. So it's glad to hear that it is extending beyond our doors. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would like to especially thank Haley, Lucy, Abigail, Darcy, and Tavon. Thank you once again. And since you have school tomorrow, I'll take a minute and you can all leave. Okay, next we have approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, next item, our work session update, what we covered today at the work session at the Knapp Professional Learning Center. We heard a presentation from Paul O'Brien on putting Wi-Fi on a couple of the buses, and we decided to pilot that on the Knott's Island Ferry and the early college bus. Next, we had a discussion on STEM School, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, and we will vote on that tonight. Then we heard a presentation from Paul O'Brien on accountability results. Then also from Mr. O'Brien on revision of Policy 3420, Student Promotion and Accountability, and that was the first reading. And then we had the second reading on Student Health Services and Support Services policies in the 6,000 series. And then lastly, we had we covered the 4,000 series policies on student focus, admissions, assignments, and safety. Okay, next item on the agenda, American Education Week Proclamation. Sandy Kinzel, Assistant Superintendent.
Good evening, Chairman Dominique and members of the board. American Education Week is an annual celebration occurring this year during the week of November 18th through the 22nd. This week offers us all an opportunity to be able to celebrate public education and honor the individuals who are making a difference in ensuring that every child receives a quality education. I come before the board this evening to seek action and your approval on a proclamation designating American Education Week as November 18th through the 22nd in Currituck County. And I'd like to read that. My small font. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality. And whereas by equipping young Americans with both practical skills and broader intellectual abilities, schools give them hope for and access to a productive future. And whereas education employees, be they substitute educators, custodians, teachers, bus drivers, or librarians, work tirelessly to serve our children and communities with care and professionalism. And whereas schools are community linchpins, bringing together adults and children, educators and volunteers, business leaders and elected officials in a common enterprise. Now, therefore, we, the Currituck County Board of Education, do hereby proclaim November 18th through the 22nd as the 93rd annual observance of American Education Week in Currituck. And that would be signed this day, the 13th of November. And we will ask for your approval on this proclamation so we could put it into the record.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And the motion passes on the Education Week proclamation.
Very good, thank you.
Next, we'll
I
have...
don't know what we would have done if you hadn't, because that's kind of the precursor for why we're up here tonight to celebrate.
Next, we'll have the 2013-14 Teacher Assistant of the Year recognition.
Yes. In recognition of American Education Week, we have much to be thankful for here in Currituck. Among our many blessings, we have creative and dedicated teachers, teacher assistants, and a support staff that works tirelessly and are so incredibly dedicated to the students and their profession. We would like to honor them this evening. Tonight, in celebration of American Education Week, we'd like to honor our district's teacher assistants, and Principal of the Year. We will recognize them for being selected as the best in their school and the best in our district this year. So I'd like to have the board and the superintendent come down so we can recognize these fabulous people. Selection of our Teacher of the Year and our Teacher Assistant of the Year happens in the spring of each school year. And we hold off until November so that we can honor them with the plaques and the monetary award that accompanies being named the district teacher and teacher assistant and principal of the year, just in time for Christmas. So we'd like to announce and ask to come forward our teacher assistants of the year from Currituck County High School, Miss Beth O'Brien. From Millioc Middle School, Miss Jewel Harris. From Currituck County Middle School, Antoine Sawyer. From Knott's Island Elementary School, Beth, don't go anywhere. Thought she could get by. From Knott's Island Elementary School, Miss Donna Herman. From Scarborough Elementary School, Miss Debbie Boyce. From Central Elementary School, Ms. Keisha Banks. From Griggs Elementary School, Christina Greshek. From Jarvisburg, Ms. Gwen White. And from J.P. Knapp Early College, and representing the district as our County Teacher Assistant of the Year, Ms. Annette Samborski. Congratulations. Teachers of the Year, from Currituck County High School, Ms. Mary Cosnahan. From J.P. Knapp Early College, Miss Sarah Adams. From Millioc Middle School, Ms. Lisa Lane. From Currituck Middle School, Robert Struhar. From Knott's Island Elementary School, Miss Jennifer Roche. From Central Elementary School, Miss Rebecca Alder. From Griggs Elementary School, Miss Pam Younger. From Jarvisburg Elementary School, Miss Dana Newbern. And representing two schools, Moyock Elementary School and Scarborough Elementary School, and being recognized as our county's Teacher of the Year, Ms. Luana Palamatakis. And recognizing her once again as our district's Principal of the Year, this time with the check. We're going to show her the money. Miss Dawn Belanja from Central Elementary School. The plaques and the monetary awards are just small tokens of appreciation for all that you do, and we really want to make sure that you know how much you are appreciated here in Currituck County. And I think I speak for the entire board and our superintendent when I say that. So thank you for everything, and we'd like to get a big picture up here, so come on up. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to have to be in the back. Yes, come on in. We'll get more than one row. Come on. We'll do them all. And if you're looking at the back of someone's head, move to a new spot. That's right. Make another row. Come on, Beth. There we go. Come on over. We're going to have to tighten up just a little bit more. The wide lens just isn't going to not make sense of it. All right. Smile. I think I'm good. Great. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is our student school board member reports from Tom Poston, Katie Taylor, Rick Loggy, and Alexandra Carter. We'll start with Thomas.
Good evening. This past month, students countywide were invited to participate in the Celebrating Education in Currituck contest. There were 3 different parts. Elementary students were invited to submit posters depicting what education meant to them. Middle schoolers could create a PowerPoint, and high schoolers were asked to write an essay in response to one of 5 diverse prompts. And those were from a normal essay to a visual essay with photographs to even writing a tweet with only 140 characters. Next Friday, the 22nd, will mark opening night of the Currituck County Schools Theater Fall Play this year. It's a very exciting show. It's a Tony Award-winning crime drama called The Desperate Hours, and that's at 7 on Friday and Saturday, the 22nd and 23rd, and 3 p.m. matinee on Sunday, the 24th. And I want to invite all of you to come and support the drama students and also see some really high-caliber theater. Also next Friday, the 22nd, will be the annual community dinner and clothes giveaway at Currituck County High School. It's a great family event, I recommend it. It's a fun holiday time, and Santa will be there to take photos. And a lot of clubs from Currituck County High School will be helping with that. So come out and support that event. Now I'll turn it over to Katie.
Hello. Tomorrow, 18 Teen Pep educators will be going to Virginia Beach for learning workshops Thursday through Saturday. The SAD groups from JP Knapp and Currituck will go to Raleigh this Friday through Sunday for their Fall Leadership Conference. A food drive sponsored jointly by the CCHS and FA and SGO is underway. Donate food items to benefit those in holiday need this season. The Knights football team defeated Hertford last Friday to become conference champions for the first time in 23 years. They will host East Duplin High School this Friday at 7:30 in the first round of playoffs. Come out with your red and support the Knights as they come to continue to make history. And also, I would like to congratulate Evan Voliva, who officially signed his letter of intent to play baseball at East Carolina University this morning. And now I will turn it over to Rick Lage.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate Thomas and Travis Rittenauer for being recognized by the National Merit Scholar Program for their test scores. Jarvisburg Elementary on October 9th had a fire safety assembly with the Lower Currituck Volunteer Fire Department. On the 22nd, there was environmental field day also at Jarvisburg, and students from Jarvisburg took a field trip to Morris Farms to learn about environmental and farming education. At Central Elementary on November 8th, they built a Veterans Day museum and had a luncheon with community veterans to celebrate the holiday. Alex, what you got?
Hello. So for JP Knapp, the SGO and the SAD Club sponsored a wonderful Spirit Week with lots of awesome activities and great participation. They're now collecting donations through next week for Thanksgiving baskets to give out in the county, and they always have great success with that. Also, just a thank you to all of our veterans. Veterans Day was this week, and so thank you to all those who serve our country. We really are grateful. And as a last thing, today is World Kindness Day, so I thought that was pretty cool. I wish it was every day, but apparently they celebrate it today. I guess. I don't know. But that's, everything's going wonderfully, and thank you so much.
Thank you for your reports, and I'd just like to mention this was Katie and Alexandra's first report. You both did very well. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, next item, field trip request. Ms. Scholler.
Good evening, board members. And Katie, you mentioned these, so thank you. We have two field trips. One is Currituck County High School Teen Pep Retreat in Virginia Beach, November 14th through the 16th. And both CCHS and JP Knapp SAD students will be going to their conference in Raleigh, November 15th through the 17th. And those are up for your approval.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have two motions and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, Superintendent Scholler is going to speak on the Night of 1,000 Stars Reading Challenge sponsored by Whalehead.
Going to ask my new best friends to come up. Good evening, board members. This summer, Ray Meggs, who is Executive Director of Whalehead, and Ann Sense-Ball, who's the Director of Education at Whalehead, came and met with me, and they brought to me a reading challenge for our students. They wanted to make sure that all of the schools had the opportunity to participate, and reading was the center of this challenge. Their challenge is called A Night of 1,000 Stars, and that title has many meanings, as I've come to find out. But just working with them in the last few months, this is an incredible partnership that we do have with Whalehead. They are very, very generous to all of our students, our teachers. They want to care about us and support us as a school system. So I'm going to turn it over to them, but I'm very proud of this partnership. So welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
Ann's making me go first. I'm Ray. I'm the director at Wellhead, and we're honored to be here, and we thank Allison for giving us this opportunity to give back to the children of Currituck County. I want to tell you briefly how we got to the Night of 1,000 Stars and feeling confident enough to present such a partnership to the schools. It began with the Waves Charter School during our illumination last Christmas when we started singing music around the Steinway in Wellhead. And so, along with the students from the high school chorus and those young children at the Waves Charter School, we knew we had a role to play in children's lives. The first 10 years of Wellhead Preservation Trust focused on the house, the collection of the artifacts, the restoration of the property, and that was an appropriate focus. It is now there for everyone to enjoy. We want to expand that focus now to include the educational component of our mission. So we began with partnerships with the school in Corolla and then with the Coastal Studies Institute that grew into our first Currituck Maritime Heritage Fellowship, where we sponsored 2 graduate students from East Carolina. We also reignited our internship program with the high school and had 4 high school students employed with us this summer. They were brilliant. So again, we knew we needed to do something. Christmas in Corolla is our new event to bring economy back to the Outer Banks during the shoulder seasons and to celebrate the Christmas heritage of Currituck County. Not just Corolla, but Currituck County. So we came to see Allison with this brainstorm that this wonderful lady, Ann Sensible, brought to us. I want to tell you a little bit about her. Brilliant professional in education. She used to work for nothing almost to do children's programs. We have now created a full-time position about education, and Wellhead's committed to that. We now have a children's hour during the summer season. We have wonderful programs. Our numbers for children's programs are up north of 100%. That's during the summer. We want to bring those programs to the children during the rest of the year. So I'm going to have Ann talk to you about Night of 1,000 Stars and how it ties in with Christmas in Corolla and our community on the mainland. Thank you for having me here. Go, Ann.
Well, I'm an old educator. I'm a retired educator, supposedly. But I'm a rural educator. I always worked in rural schools and I always worked for poor schools. And I know how badly we needed motivational and energetic programs. And, you know, what I'm paid to do is to develop programs for our visitors and our visitors' children. And there was just something in me that Ray finally let loose because I said, I want to do it for the same thing for our local children. So that was, and then we had these just jam-up interns that were just over the moon this year. They were wonderful students from Currituck High School. This year I've been told I must go to Knapp High School as well, so I'll be at both. But anyway, the whole notion was to try to form a bridge of understanding, to get the kids actively involved in Wellhead, because realistically, they are the ones that will be the custodians, the stewards of Wellhead in the future. And in order for that relationship to grow and mature, we have to plant the seeds today. So the whole notion of Night of 1,000 Stars was sort of far-flung, but we said, okay, guys, and with Allison's approval, we're going to throw down a challenge that for every book that the children read between the end of October and when we light the park on December the 6th, we will light a light in the park for that book or that reading unit, we've decided since then. There have been many gradations as we've gone along. Anyway, we sort of thought, well, maybe this would be of interest to the elementary schools. We really didn't foresee that so many schools, but as you can see, they all are participating, all 10 schools. Some more than others, some are all in, but we're thrilled to death. We are building sponsorships. We have gifts for the teachers, we have gifts for the children, the superstar readers, and we hope to have cash gifts for all of your media centers in all of the schools that are participating. So, with that said, we're working hard, but I thought you'd want to know what the students have done. We have 106 teachers participating in the challenge. Right now we have 2,613 students, and to date, in the first 2.5 weeks, they've read 2,837 books. That's awesome. our director of maintenance, who's the responsible party for all the lights we're putting up in the park, has said, okay, Ann, 10,000, cork it, no more. So needless to say, we are scrambling at this point. We had sort of planned for about 5,000, and we've upped the ante now to 10,000 because we're only halfway, we're not even a quarter of the way there, and one report today was 678, which made me tremble. I'm trembling right now thinking about it. But anyway, we provided for all of you all pamphlets about the program. We hope you'll help us spread the word. We want everybody to stand up and recognize these children, because this is time that they're having to take away from the television set, from their cell phone, and we're hearing about little competitions growing in schools where classes are really going after each other. And we hope you will come out and join us as we celebrate this massive achievement, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be massive, at Whalehead on December the 6th when the park lights up with the students' achievement. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray, Ann, and
Yes.
thank you for Whalehead's support of public education and everything that you've done. Great program. Hopefully we'll get you to 10,000.
Thank you. And we're sincere about planting the seed with the community. Please read the materials that you have on how you could sponsor a child, how you could name a tree in honor of someone. And there's extra brochures that Yvette has that you can take home and give to your friends and your civic associations and your family. It's how we can recognize our teachers and our students and make this a successful program in perpetuity. We want to keep doing this. We want to keep growing it. So thank you for having us and for letting us do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Paul O'Brien, accountability results.
Good evening. I'm here to talk about what you have, not what you want. These are the accountability results for this past year. Normally we get results sooner than this, but because there were new tests and new norms and new scale scores, the State Board of Education didn't approve these results until last week. So I'm going to go through these, and my goal is not to read everything on every slide and point out every number. It's to kind of give you and the public an overview of what this accountability system is and some of the complexities of it and some of the things that are different from last year. First of all, the schools get measured on several different factors. There's assessments, and there's graduation rate and other things, and participation rate. We have to have at least 95% of our students participating in tests. And we get status indicators that tell us how we're doing this year. Next year we'll get progress indicators that tell us how we did from year to year. And then there's growth indicators that are based on student scores to see if students got the kind of scores they should based on a year's growth for a year's instruction. And finally, there's also a federal system, and that consists of annual measurable objectives. The things that make up the performance composite for the elementary and the middle schools are essentially the end-of-grade test. Our students take end-of-grade tests in English, Language Arts, and Math in grades 3 through 8. They take a science test in grades 5 and 8. And if there are any end-of-course tests at the middle schools, they also count in the composite. The high schools, it gets a little more complicated. There's also a new test, the ACT test. Some of you are familiar with that. It's been used for college admissions. But now it's required for all of our 11th graders. And so we get measured on attainment there. Also graduation rates, math course rigor. That's the percent of students who graduated this year who successfully completed Algebra 2 or above. Several years ago, they instituted the Algebra 1 requirement for high school graduation. Everybody was saying, no, they can never do that. Kids can't do that. And now we're looking at Algebra 2 for all the students. There's also a test for seniors who are in the CTE, the vocational programs, called the Work Keys, which measures their workplace readiness. And finally, whether or not we do a graduation project. Now, the annual measurable objectives, there are a lot of different targets. We're not just measured on the proficiency rate of our students as a whole. We're also measured on our proficiency rates of students in the different ethnic subgroups, and also our economically disadvantaged students, also our students with disabilities, our students with limited English proficiency, and for the state measures, our AIG, our gifted students. So we have targets that we have to meet for every one of those subgroups, both participation and performance targets for all of those. So we end up with a lot of different targets at the different schools. Talked a little bit about the EVOS growth. EVOS is the system that calculates the growth measure that's used to populate Standard 6 of the Teacher Evaluation Instrument and Standard 8 of the Principal Evaluation Instrument. And basically what this system does is it looks at all the scores that the student has in their history and then projects what the student should make in the class they're in now. Then it compares those results with statewide results to see if the students in a particular teacher's class made the appropriate growth for that year, if they achieved a year's growth for a year's instruction. That's essentially what it is. The actual calculation is very complicated, and it's called a value-added system. There's more information about it on the DPI site, actually on all these different things. When we look at the state results, the first thing we notice is the results. These are proficiency rates, the percent of students who scored a level 3 or 4 on these assessments. Everybody's evaluated level 1, 2, 3, or 4, and 3 and 4 levels are proficient. These levels are much lower than they've been in previous years because a lot has changed since last year. This past year, we had brand new curriculum in everything. We had the Common Core in English Language Arts and Math, and we had the Essential Standards in the other areas. And these were much more complicated standards, deeper standards, rather than covering a lot of stuff an inch deep. They covered less, a mile deep is kind of the idea behind them. So the curriculum was tougher. Now, not only was the curriculum tougher across the board, but also the standard was raised. The previous standards were based on this idea: is the student ready to go to the next grade level? And if they were, that's a level 3. The new standards are based on something a little higher. The new standards are based on, is this student on track to be ready to go to college or into post-secondary education or the career they want at the end of high school? It's a different standard. So one way to explain that is we've changed two things. Let's assume, for just illustration, that our previous standard required students to run a mile on the track in 6 minutes. Now, with these new standards, we've put in place a tougher curriculum. So now, instead of running on the track, we're going to make them run cross-country. We also raised the standard up to college ready, so instead of running it in 6 minutes, now they've got to run it in 4. So that's why you see these different proficiency levels this year compared to previous years. They're much lower because the standards are higher. You can see the approximate math proficiency rates across the state, where before on the old test we would have proficiency rates in the 70 to 80%. Now you see the 30 to 40%. Similar rates in science. See, we also have rates on the ACT and the other indicators that I mentioned to you a little bit earlier. Now we'll look at some of the results for the schools, and I'll just point out a couple of things as we look at these. First of all, you'll notice at the bottom there's an overall performance composite. That's the combination of the English Language Arts and the math and the science to look at the total number of proficient scores out of all the scores in those 3 areas to give you an overall performance composite. We look at EVOS growth, which we mentioned, which is, measures did the kids make a year's worth of growth for a year's instruction, and those results are combined across the school to see if the school met growth, and in this case, the school did. They met their EVOS growth standard. We look at the high school, and we'll see the end-of-course tests that are there, Math 1, English 2, and Biology, and then on there you'll see something you didn't see on Central, that's the ACT. That's the percent of students who scored above a composite of 17 on the ACT. Another thing I want to point out on this one is cohort graduation rate. That looks at the number of students, or the cohort, the group of students who came in the 9th grade, follows them through 4 years later and says how many of them graduated in 4 years. That's 4 years is a standard time for Currituck High School. Knapp is early college, so their standard rate is 5 years, but it's the same idea. Did those kids make progress and graduate on time? Currituck County Middle School. Again, you'll notice there's a science composite, although only 8th graders in the middle school take the science test. It's not everybody. And on this one, I want to point out the difference, or point out the federal AMO targets, for example. They met 20 of their 21 targets. So they probably had a target of did all students meet the proficiency level? Did white students meet the proficiency level? Did African American students meet it? Did economically disadvantaged? And all those individual targets make up the total possible there of 21. So they met 20 of 21, or 95% of their targets. That's pretty good. Look at Jarvisburg Elementary, and we'll jump over here and talk about the difference between the federal and the state number of targets. The difference is the state also has targets for science, 5th and 8th grade science and biology. The federal program doesn't measure those standards. Also, the state includes academically gifted students as one of those target groups, and the federal government doesn't. So that's why, in a lot of cases, you'll see more state targets than federal. At Shawboro Elementary. And one thing to point out to you, that the principals have all received this information earlier, actually before it was approved, to get a preliminary look. And so now they're going back to their teachers and they're looking at the results, and they have disaggregated results. Okay, they know actual targets, proficiency rates for each subgroup and all those things, much more detailed than this, at a level that can help them begin to make some plans for improvement. The J.P. Knapp Early College, they have the ACT because all 11th graders are required to do that. But you'll notice over here on work keys it says NA, because they don't have vocational programs or career and technical education programs there. They don't have career and technical education completers, and they're the only ones that take that work keys. Knott's Island Elementary. And I'll just point out to you here the participation rate. It says it's met. Again, we have to test at least 95%. We're required to test 100%, and if we don't test 100% of our students, the state asks me why. Why didn't you test, Johnny? And we have to provide reasons. But if we test less than 95%, then there are consequences for that. Moyock Elementary. Moyock Middle School. And this PowerPoint, or this presentation, will be on the eBoard site that's linked off the district's homepage so that anybody can access this. Also, all of this data is taken from the state's public page, where anyone can go on and look up these proficiency rates for any school in the state. And Dr. W.T. Griggs. We look at the county schools combined overall and get a little better picture of what's going on overall, which is good to see from your point of view and from the public's, but in order to actually accomplish change, that's where you have to drill down into that data that the principals have to look at where the specific areas are. One thing to point out here, EVOS growth is not measured at the district level, only at the school level, so we don't get an indicator on that. See all our composites there. And that's kind of the bird's eye view of the accountability system. There are a lot of complexities to it, and we do our best to meet the requirements and test the folks we're supposed to and make sure the data is accurate when we send it to the state. In order to get this. Now, one thing to point out is all of these new scores that we're just now getting back, those scores don't impact the kids from last year. The state board said these results are not to negatively impact students or teachers because they were brand new. We didn't know what they would look like. We knew there would be a big hit, so we're not going back and changing any grades. Students will be receiving, they should be bringing home individual student reports in the next week or so. Any student that took an end-of-grade test, grades 3 through 8, or an end-of-course test, Math 1, English 2, or Biology, should be bringing home an individual student report, which shows that student's performance compared to the state, compared to the district, and compared to their school, and it gives a percentile across the state, too, to let parents and students know, okay, well, the level 2 doesn't look so good. Where did I fit in with the state? And to give them another perspective on what their results were. So parents should be expecting those home soon.
We received this report earlier today. Does the board have any further questions?
Just that we had thanked you in the work session for all the hard work you did, but I'd like to publicly do that now. We know that this has been a real undertaking, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. And I might like to also mention that this Common Core curriculum is an effort. We were number one in the world in student achievement. The United States was. We're now 22nd. And these higher standards are an effort that 45 states have taken upon themselves to try to get us back to number one in the world. So, anyway, thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, we've been requested to take action on a regional STEM, and that stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics charter school that's been proposed for the area. And after a discussion, I'm going to ask for a motion for non-approval of this STEM school. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? And some of the reasons that we do not support this is that we feel that the students in Currituck County would get a much better education in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics than they would by traveling to Elizabeth City to a charter school to get it. Any other comments? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor of non-approval of the regional STEM school?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
I motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item, public comment session. Nobody signed up, so we'll pass that. Next, information items. Our next work session will be December 9th at 5 o'clock at the Knapp Professional Learning Center. The next board meeting will be here, December 9th, 7 o'clock at the Historic Courthouse. Also, we would like to invite parents in the community to an education of celebration, November 20th at 4 o'clock at Currituck County High School. And we request that you all come out and show your appreciation and support of our education celebration. Next, board member comments. Ms. Etheridge.
I would like to congratulate our superintendent, Allison Scholler, on her recent marriage to Frank Osmond. Recently, she got married, and we're so happy, and we wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
And I'd also like to congratulate Johnny Wheeler on a championship. We haven't had a championship in 26 years, Jackie, is that about right? 23 years, and he is super. I mean, the school spirit that we have now, unbelievable. If you haven't been to a game, I urge you to go to a game and see all the red in the stands and the pep rallies that we've been having, and just the school spirit overall. The game that's coming up, we really need to turn out and support our Knights. So I urge everyone to be there in support for them. And with Thanksgiving coming up, I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy your time off with your family and friends, and have a safe and happy day. Thank you.
Mr. Simmons.
This past month, I've had a chance to go to quite a few of the athletic events, from our girls volleyball team who made the state playoffs to our JV football, but most of all, I'd like to talk about our varsity football team. John Wheeler was named Coach of the Year by the Daily Advance, but John will be the first one to tell you a head coach is only as good as his assistant coaches. If you see any of our coaches in the county, go up and shake their hand and congratulate them. If you have a chance to go see a football game, like Ms. Etheridge just said, John's above a high school football coach when you see him calling plays from the sidelines with hand signals, where you see these other schools running players on and off the field. It's a show to behold. Us beating Northeastern and then coming back this past week and beating Hertford County with 1 second left on the clock, the last play on the 1 yard line. It was very impressive. Last but not least, like I said, Thanksgiving coming up. Hope everybody has a really good Thanksgiving. I had a chance to tour the high school today. All of our teachers were working hard. Our kids were working hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kraft.
Yes, I want to thank Central Elementary School and their fabulous students for the great presentation tonight. I visited Moyock Elementary last week, sat in on a math lesson on double-digit multiplication in Miss Joya's fourth grade class and a writing lesson in Miss Costello's fourth grade class, so that was very interesting. I also want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Ms. Gaddis?
I want to support and remind everybody, I think it was Thomas that said it earlier, the school play coming up that Mr. White's putting on with the kids in our drama unit at the high school. I went to last year's play. I'm hoping to make it to this year's. It's something to see, that's for sure. We've got some very talented kids, so if you get the chance, please do go out and support them in that. Football, I was at the football game. It was freezing, but totally worth it. Totally worth it. It was very entertaining, so if you get out to see them in their championship this week, that would be great. And again, with Central Elementary, all the kids and parents and the teachers and everybody that were out tonight, we do appreciate everything they do in supporting everyone in the county. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and thank you.
To show you how long ago it was that we won a conference championship in football, it was a year after I left being high school principal there. That was a long time ago. Okay, as Mr. Simmons and Ms. Kraft said, they drop by schools, and I'd like to say the board members occasionally drop by a school unannounced and go through the classes to see what's really happening. Well, since the last board meeting, I dropped in to Currituck Middle, Griggs, Jarvisburg, and Central, and toured at least 3/4 of the classes in each one of those schools. And I'm very proud to say students were very actively engaged, and there was a lot of learning going on, and the people in Currituck County should be very proud of how engaged and how much students are learning in our district. And I, too, would like to wish everyone a safe, happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you December 9th. Thank you.